Hey everyone. So let's do an update for 1020 for week 7. So first off, just a quick announcement, kind of a quality of life thing. So I finally broke down and bought like an actual camera to do these with. I'm just still trying to get the troubleshooting part of it worked out, but hopefully future video updates will be a bit higher quality because I'll be using like an actual camera instead of just the built-in camera on my laptop. So be on the lookout for that. But other than that, the biggest thing for week 7 is going to be the project proposal. Okay, so the project proposal is our first like actual big writing assignment in the class. Okay, and it's going to be kind of confusing to start out with. So because this is going to be like a new genre of writing that I'm sure a lot of us haven't done before, right? I'm sure probably most of us have not written a proposal. So, what I really want to do in this video update for this first part of week 7 is to just talk about what that means to write a proposal, okay? So, the easiest way that I can explain it um, is if you've ever seen the show Shark Tank, right? If you've ever seen the show Shark Tank, your proposal is going to kind of be like that, okay? So, for those of you not familiar with that show, Shark Tank, there's a group of investors, like entrepreneurs or whatever, investors that are the like hosts of the show, and then the contestants on the show try to show off whatever their invention or their product is to these investors, and they're trying to get the investors to give them money so they can get their product or their whatever it is they're trying to pitch into stores to sell. Okay, so think of your proposal like that. You are trying to sell your research project. Okay, you're trying to sell your research project to someone. Okay, that's probably the simplest way I can describe it. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more complicated, okay? So, your research project, the actual paper, the research paper you're going to write for the end of the semester, is going to have its own audience, okay? That paper is going to have its own audience. That audience is not going to be the same for the project proposal. The project proposal is going to have a different audience than the actual research paper you're going to write, okay? So you need to kind of get that in your brain that it's going to be two different groups, okay? So think of it this way. The project proposal is going to be addressed, it's going to be written to a group or a committee or an individual who can invest in your research, okay? But before they invest in your research, you have to convince them that your research is worth investing in, okay? So basically, think of this as our persuasive paper for the semester. This is going to be a persuasive paper, okay? You're going to have to explain in detail why your research is going to be worth investing in, okay? And before you do that, you have to define who the audience of your project is, because you're going to be telling that to the people you're writing this proposal to. So, for example, say if your research has something to do with um, the way that classrooms are laid out and how that affects student learning, that's your research project. The people who are going to be reading that paper that you're writing are going to be educators, right? They're going to be teachers and people who need to know that information in order to have the most effective layout for their classroom, okay? The people who are going to be investing in this research project, the people who this hypothetical proposal is going to be written to, would be some kind of group or committee who has an interest in this topic, and that you are going to be asking them, basically asking them to fund the research. You're not literally doing that, but think of it that way, right? Think of it that way. So say that there is some kind of education committee, and you're taking this proposal to them and you're saying, look, I want to do this research about how we can most effectively lay out a school classroom so that it engages the students in the best possible way. And then you're going to tell them that your target audience for that research is going to be other teachers and educators, the people who are going to be using this in a practical sense, right? The people who are actually going to take your research and try to use it to make their classroom layout more effective, okay? So you will have the option when you're doing this project proposal to do it in the template that I put in the week 7 module, okay? So in the week 7 module, you have the assignment sheet for the project proposal, then you have the template example, and then you have the worksheets that go along with the template that you fill out each individual part on its own. And then you have 3 examples from previous students, okay? So all of those are resources that are there to help you to write your own proposal. And you can do the template, but I do not require you to use the template, okay? Some students don't like the template, some students don't like the worksheets, and they don't want to do that, okay? But if you think that the template and the worksheets will help you, then use them, okay? But they're not required. They're there to help you if you want to use them, okay? So if you're using the templates, you'll notice that one of the very first things is that line at the top where it says memorandum for, okay? And that is going to be memorandum for, and you fill in the blank. You fill in the blank with whoever you are addressing this proposal to, okay? You're filling in the blank with whoever you want to be reading your proposal, okay? So another example, say if you are doing your research project on something about like clean energy, right? You might address your proposal to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, because they are a group who is invested in doing research on clean energy, okay? But the EPA is probably not going to be the person or your target audience that is actually going to read your research paper, right? So you're going to have 2 different audiences. And the reason that that's important is because in your proposal, you need to have that target audience of your research project defined, okay? You need to tell the people you're proposing this research to that you already have a target audience in mind, because just think of it like Shark Tank, right? People are not going to want to invest in your research if you don't know what the heck you're even doing, right? So the purpose of the proposal is to be a persuasive paper that is basically trying to sell your research project to a group, okay, that can invest in it. All right. So the other thing on the assignment sheet, the dates, right? So for each of our big writing assignments, you're going to have a rough draft date and then a final draft due date, okay? So rough drafts come in all shapes and sizes, okay? So when I'm reading a rough draft, I'm not really looking for a finished product because it's a rough draft. It's not supposed to be finished yet, right? But what I want to see in a rough draft is I want to see that all of your pieces are starting to go into place, right? That you have your ideas, that you have some writing done, and that you have something that you can take and turn it into a final draft, okay? You have something you can take and then keep working on it and then turn it into a final draft that you're going to submit for a grade, all right? So I think as of right now, the rough draft date is the 13th, which is next Thursday. Those dates can change if we're getting close to the 13th and I'm getting emails saying, oh, my rough draft isn't ready yet. I don't think I need more time. Then we can change that date to a later date, okay? We have some built-in room to where we can move it around if we need to. We can make it later. But for right now, I want to keep it at the 13th, all right? Keep it for the 13th. So basically, what you need to do from your second mini essay is you need to finally settle on a topic, and then make that topic the focus of your project proposal. Okay, make that topic the focus of your proposal. So, also, what I want to do is I'm going to put a reading that is not on our syllabus, but I want to add it in here because I think it goes really well along with what we're doing right now, kind of transitioning from the mini essay to the project proposal. And that reading is going to be chapter 3 from the Craft of Research book, okay? So I'll post that on D2L as well. You'll have to just go into the Craft of Research book and just read over chapter 3. And I'll have some couple of reading discussion questions for you. So we will still do the civic engagement discussion. We might just package it in with next week because I still want to do that. I think we're talking about the importance of music this week. I still want us to do that, but I want to make sure that we have a good start on our project proposal first, okay? So that's going to be our main focus for right now because this is our first big writing assignment. This is worth 15% of our grade, so I want to make sure, especially since we're in an online class and not in person, that we know what we're doing and we're getting it started and we're getting a rough draft made. So I want us to just focus on that for right now for this week. And then based on what all we get done, I'll see where I can put in our I'm sorry, not civic engagement, but our cultural expression topic, because I still want us to do that, but it might get moved over to a different week. So right now, we're going to be focusing on the project proposal, and I expect this to be confusing. I expect this to maybe not make a whole lot of sense at first, but I think once we get started on it and once we start writing it, it'll start to make more sense. So again, I want you to think of this as a persuasive paper where you're trying to convince a group or committee that your research is worth investing in or funding, if you want to think of it that way. You're trying to convince a group who would be someone who can invest in your research that your research is worthwhile and that you have a solid project and that it would be a good investment, okay? So think of it that way. All right, so if you have individual questions, please email me. I haven't Zoomed with anyone yet. If this is a time where you think like, okay, we're starting to get into something a little bit more complex, if you want to Zoom, we can do that. I'll just create the meeting and send you a link. Because sometimes it's a lot easier to discuss things face to face instead of, or face to face instead of over email. So that is an option. Just keep that in mind. But other than that, start working on this project proposal assignment. If you want to use the template, if you want to use those worksheets and fill out those worksheets, you can do that. But if those look like they won't be helpful to you, then just ignore them. You don't have to use them, okay? So that's it for this update, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks.